Behind every great athlete, there's a great coach. So the idea of having a life coach or someone to help us discover our strengths so as to best guide us on our own individual journeys makes sense. On this episode, I chat with Jessica Cowan on her brand new coaching and consulting business, which is designed to help clients and organizations play to their strengths and find purpose in their life's journey. The initiative is appropriately named around the concept of each person's life being a purpose journey, which, as you'll hear on the episode, will also be the title of a book she's hoping to publish in 2021. I'm Jarrett Carpenter, and this is Wi-Fi Water. Welcome, Jess, to Wi-Fi Water. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And we're here because I'm really interested to hear you talk about the purpose journey, your new journey as a coach and a consultant. Let's start. How long ago? It's fairly recent, right?
Real recent. It's a COVID business. So,
it's a COVID business.
Yeah, like officially, like it was a side hustle for a while, and then it became like, an official kind of business back in, let's say December. It has a December, September. Conceptually, like when I started kind of putting some actual thought into making it a business and getting the back end stuff was maybe like in September, but launching it, putting it out there for the public was December 2020. So
it's brand new.
It's brand new. Like the journey isn't new, of course, but the business side of it, taking what you're naturally good at and capitalizing on it, I think that's the new side hustle, or it should be for everyone, because when you start learning about economics and how the world works and all this stuff, you really have to kind of we got to be smarter and not work harder.
So it's a COVID business, and it started in December, and we're in early February.
Yeah.
So it's been around, maybe we'll say max 60 days.
Right.
What kept you from starting it earlier in COVID? Because COVID for us in the United States, we're talking, let's say mid-March, right?
Yeah.
The Ides of March is what I like to say. So you had the Ides of March. You had about, I'm going to go a little over the top, but you had about 9 months.
Yeah.
What kept you from starting it during those 9 months?
That is a great question. So the backstory is like in March, I was already kind of debating. My eyes were kind of open for new opportunities work-wise. And this business is something that has been kind of like in my head to do over the past few years. I have like a list of things that I kind of want to accomplish, but the how, in the when is all, everything happens for a reason type deal. So for me, I knew I was going to transition into like coaching and consulting eventually. And in March, I kind of started getting the itch. Then, COVID hit and everything got shut down. So I was like, okay, I really need to focus on how do I, what do I need to accomplish to get to my end goal of having a flexible work life, being financially stable and comfortable to where I can use my gifts and talents and do what I love to do. So, back in March, I kind of decided to hire a coach. So my coach was, I needed to figure out how do I perform at a high level? How do I avoid burnout? So my first coach was a high performance coach, and he kind of gave me some tactics on how do I perform at a high level. He was an athlete, a former athlete, started a nonprofit, had his own business. And so, I really kind of aspired to be like that. And I understood the athletic mindset, the competition, the, responsibility of, leading others, but also kind of wanting to leave an impact. And in addition to that, and following your purpose and stuff. So he kind of had an abnormal journey in life and ended up coaching and helping others. So I kind of wanted to follow. I connected with that. And so I think in coaching, it's very important that you connect with any coach you seek out. And so we connected. He was also from Arkansas, I'm from Mississippi. So that Southern vibe, we connected there. And so all that to say is so in March, I hired a coach, helped me really kind of shift my mindset and get in that mindset of being able to own your own business. And I think there's a mindset that goes with being an entrepreneur. You really have to kind of push yourself to succeed, because there are ups and downs and challenges that you face, and you are your own kind of motivator at the end of the day. And so I kind of started, I would say publicly, the business came out in December. And I had been coaching and consulting. I said it was a side hustle. So I had been consulting and doing workshops and facilitations for maybe like the past 2.5 years, in addition to my full-time job. So I just kind of like, decided to really take that leap of faith and just say, you know what, I'm just going to like sink or swim, like try to do my own thing right quick. And if it works, yes. Like, I mean, honestly, I feel like I know it's going to be successful just because I have faith and I have God on my side. And so, if I feel like this is where he's leading me, it's going to help someone. And to me, that's success. Like, even if it just helps one person, that's success to me. I just want to kind of help people figure out their purpose and know their strengths.
I think anybody listening to this who's started a project, it could even be like, oh, I know I need to change my blinds and I haven't done it. And I was going to do it last spring and I haven't done it. And it's been 2 years. Whatever it is, whenever you start to do action, normally there's a massive amount of background behind it. And any project I've been a part of, I've been thinking about for years normally. And then there's a time where either I've organized myself or inspired myself to actually start, or it's just the most rational starting point. Out of roads, I joined the Peace Corps, but I knew I was going to be part of the Peace Corps since I was in like 7th or 8th grade. That was always get the college degree, go to Peace Corps. And so, but I think what happens in life, a lot of times we kind of hit the end of the road, right? The train comes to the end of the tracks and it's the last stop, but you're only 28 years old. You're only 25 years old. You're 30 years old.
Right.
Does that resonate with you? And with the people you work with, are they kind of in a similar thing where maybe they had a job and then they're like, I don't really like this job. I don't want to do it. So they leave. And then it's like, then what?
I would say my end of the road was writing a book. And so I didn't even mention that one of the main goals of reaching out to the coach was he wrote a book, and he was like, I wrote a book within 3 months. And I was like, oh, that's the type of like productivity I'm trying to do. And how did you do that? And he kind of like laid out his strategy, and I was like, oh, okay, like teach me how. And so that's kind of, I'm working on a book, but that was the roadblock for me. It was like, okay, I've gone to college, got my master's. I've done, worked in higher ed, worked in nonprofit. I've helped people. What is next? Like, what is left on my list that, I said that I wanted to accomplish? And writing a book, I've always felt like I needed to write a book or something. And so, I was like, I've been having this book in my mind for like 4 or 5 years, like so long, like how I don't know how to write a book. And so here comes, a guy talking about how he wrote a book. And I definitely believe in when a door opportunity presents itself, it's your responsibility to decide like if it's for you or not. And most of the time, if it's the right time, it's for you. And so that for me was the block. It was like, I'm in a job that I enjoy doing the work, but it has its areas of improvement. And
that is such a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, so I still enjoy like everything. I feel like every time you reach different ceilings. And so it's important to know when it's your time, when your purpose at a organization or a company reaches its end. And that's okay. And so for me, my purpose at that particular place was over. And it was time for me to do something else. And so I'm still kind of working with them, which is the great thing, because it's still, everything happens for a reason. And so like my purpose is still to kind of make a difference and make a change in the community and the community that I'm in. And so to answer the other part of the question is, yes, I did reach my point of like, what's next? And I've always been a business minded person. Like I don't know, like started my own trading business, if you want to call it that, in 2nd grade, like trading toys. Like there's a lot of things that's business that you don't know that's business. Like even in high school, I was making bracelets and selling them, like hustling, like making money. And so for me, like, I had reached my point. Like it was like, Jessica, you've always wanted to start a business. Why not now? 2020 was just kind of evident of like, if there's anything you wanted to do, need to do, if you can do it, like we could lose everything tomorrow. So like I'm really big on like living life with no regrets and really trying to live out my purpose. And so I don't want to leave any gifts or talents that I have like on unused. And you asked about other people that I work with. Sorry. Yes, they do kind of reach that point. A lot of people, they feel unfulfilled where they're at, and they feel like a lot of them feel like they've given so much to other people that they never kind of paid attention to their own professional or personal development. So they never looked out for themselves. They're wondering, like, what are they good at? What is my purpose? Why am I here? What are my talents? They might be in a career field because their parents or some family member kind of suggested that it's something that they go into. And so a lot of people just aren't self-aware of what they're naturally good at because they never really had people telling them what they're good at, but also because our strengths are hidden. It's like writing with your dominant hand.
Is there a talent that you've discovered within yourself in the last 6 to 9 months that you didn't know as you prepared to launch, and now that it's more publicly? Was there something you're like, oh, wow, I'm actually really good at that, and either you never thought you were good at it, or you didn't even know that it was potentially in your skill set?
I say like, okay, in a business, problem solving. So I solve problems every day, and I usually solve problems for other people, but I've had to kind of like really rethink like my ability to solve problems, and it's a strength of mine. It's restorative for me is number 6, and restorative as a strength means that you are really good at identifying problems and coming up with solutions. And so for me, compared with my other strengths of developers, seeing the potential in things, I really had to kind of lean on that when I encountered problems in business, learning, whether that's accounting, learning about taxes, learning about marketing. And so the problem is, how do you wear all of these hats and manage your business? And the solution for me with you figure it out. Every day there's a different, problem or something comes up, but it is very important to arrange your strengths. For me, arranger is one. So arranging the solutions that I have and prioritizing. I kind of like combine a lot of like hidden strengths. A lot of my non-dominant strengths are kind of showing up now in the business side. That's kind of how, what has shown up lately is just really rethinking how to solve problems and solving them for myself, for the business. Like if I don't know something, I have to figure it out and learn it. And that's the challenge, the beauty of entrepreneurship.
One of the things I really like that I saw on a Facebook video you did is the way that you use the purpose journey. You totally, instead of saying, hey, you have one life to live, it's like you have one purpose journey, or in your purpose journey, instead of saying in your life. And I think by rephrasing that, it's really powerful. And now it's going to be hard for me as I like move forward in my life to be like, or as I move forward, there you go, in my purpose journey. The second you even say that, the second you ask someone, hey, what do you want to do with your life? That can be an overwhelming question to somebody.
Yeah.
But if you rephrase it, what do you want to do with your purpose journey? It all of a sudden, I feel like, is a little bit easier to engage with, because then they're like, okay, it's a journey with a purpose. What's my purpose? And then there's a lot of self-reflection that needs to probably happen if it hasn't already happened. Why did you choose the name Purpose Journey? What is the magic behind the brand?
That's a great question. Remember, I said it's kind of started with a book. And so, the concept behind the book is that in your purpose, like your purpose is not a destination, but just the start to another journey. So a lot of times in life, we're figuring out like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And once you find your purpose, it's like, okay, like what's next? And after that, what's next is a whole journey. It's really like a road trip. And so you have your pit stops at different areas. You meet different people along the way who are also on their purpose journey, or they're not. They might be in their town and they might stay there, and you might meet them along your journey. And so that's the concept behind it. But the pillars of it is, if you understand the purpose of life and you understand the purpose of love, which I break it down into like the 4 different concepts of love. And then you have like the purpose of friendships and relationships. Once you understand that, all of that is kind of under the purpose of life piece. Then you throw in your purpose, the purpose of your strengths and your talents. All of that I know and believe will help people understand what their purpose here on earth is. And when you start thinking about purpose, when you think about the people you meet along your journey and their purpose, you start asking questions about okay, what's the purpose of this person in my life? Are they here to help me along my journey or to hinder me? Because you have people in life who are here, things are here to either help you or not. You can meet people who don't want the best for you. You might have dreams and aspirations to accomplish more than anyone in your family or something like that. And so if you have the wrong types of energy and the wrong people in your life, they could hold you back. It started with just understanding my own purpose, and I kind of understood those concepts at a young age. Like my mom, she's a pastor, and she kind of really instilled in me like life and the purpose of life and larger concepts that a lot of people weren't talking about. And so if you know your purpose, you can kind of avoid a lot of drama. You can avoid a lot of unnecessary things that could, again, delay or halt your purpose. That's the kind of the brand behind the purpose journey. And then the strengths piece come in because I got certified and I became a Gallup Strengths certified coach in 2016. Unlocking my strengths and discovering what I'm naturally good at really kind of made life make more sense to me. Like a lot of the decisions that I had made, from majoring in computer science to switching from a tech and technology field to a relationship and developing people field, as in higher education and student affairs, really made more sense once I discovered my strengths and talents. And I was like, oh, I'm naturally good at building relationships. I'm naturally good at developing people and seeing potential and really wanting to solve problems. And I'm very responsible, and I need someone to tell me that is not your responsibility. I was like, oh, okay. That started a whole journey, and that led me here, and wanting to write a book or feeling like I needed to write a book. I felt like that was the wall that I needed to kind of punch through to get to the next part of my journey. So here I am.
And so with as little amount of pressure as possible, when's the book coming out?
We're working on that. We have a draft done. And so I'm going through final edits, and then we'll send it off to a publisher. But the date is to be determined.
Okay, but it could be early March. It could be early June. We're not really sure.
For midsummer, ideally, would be great.
And the book will be called The Purpose Journey?
The book is called The Purpose Journey. Yes, The Purpose Journey. It's kind of like a memoir. We'll talk about life. We'll talk about love, friendships, and then we'll talk about your strengths and why, the purpose behind it all.
One of the things that you said in the video I watched that you put up on Facebook, and that's in your Facebook group. If you're listening to this and you want to see the video and you want to follow Jess on the journey of purpose, go find that. We'll do shout outs at the end where you can shout that out. Okay. But one of the things I think you were saying is calling out to people and just kind of saying, do you find yourself surrounded by people that maybe aren't on your same vibe? And if you ask that, I find that most of the things that we put out to the world, our opinions, everything we put out are things we're really feeling. So when we judge someone else, it's really because those are things we don't like about ourselves. And I try to be more and more conscious of that as I become older. It's like the reason why we don't like Donald Trump, because there are things about him that we all do that we don't like about ourselves. Maybe we're materialistic. Maybe our relationships aren't as good with other people. Maybe we're too addicted to social media. Maybe we're really narcissistic. All of the little things that we all have, right? This is why people don't like Donald Trump. Maybe people don't like Donald Trump because he's a bigot, because they haven't sat with their own ideas of race and ethnicity.
America has not sat down and had a conversation in the mirror with America.
I think that over the last, especially with his administration, everyone has had to kind of re-engage with how they feel about that and see that it's not like some social justice issue. It's about humanity, and we're all humans or on some level there. But I guess what I'm getting to is you saying that in the video made me think, hey, I feel like maybe Jess found herself in a situation where she's surrounded by people, family or friends, that that maybe she just doesn't vibe with on certain levels, and there's certain conversations she can't have. Because I feel like everybody listening to that, this will probably resonate, especially as we're in bubbles and COVID, and you're only seeing a certain handful of people. So you can't jump from your circle. You know, this is like the group I play kickball with. This is the group I talk about astronomy with. This is the group that I do yoga with. This is the group that I have my book club. So we're a little bit more reduced from those circles. But in your life, how does that play out?
So interesting that you said that, because like in my life, like what I've been able to do throughout life is jump from those circles. But I realized that that was a strength of mine. Is individualization and connectedness. Like I like to find the different unique qualities about different groups and things. So there was reasons why I got along with the, the band geeks and the band nerds and the athletes and all of this. And so like, but it's what I realized along that journey is that you meet people who feel that way. And I felt that way too. Like I can't have these conversations with certain people. And so when you feel that way, I think you really have to start asking yourself, like, what is the purpose of this? Like, what am I supposed to bring to the table? How can I, increase awareness about certain topics or issues? Or am I in the right place? For me, I had to leave. I had to search for my tribe and a community and people who vibed and thought like I did. But I also see the beauty in, like, I'm from Mississippi, and I'm streaming and we're talking. I'm back in Mississippi, like I love my home state. We have our issues, but there's a lot of beauty here. And that's one of the key components to strengths is we focus on the strengths, we focus on what you're good at, and we manage around the weaknesses. But all that to say is when you find in your tribe, when you're on your purpose journey, I feel like you really do have to kind of be willing to leave, to take the risk. Like I had to leave the South to go out west to California. And that exposed me to a whole different world. And even going to Australia and having the privilege and the blessings to go to Australia in high school, like that exposed me to a whole different world. And even just with taking the lessons in Memphis, like going to Memphis through that process, again, just led me on a journey that just kind of exposed me to different things. And that's what I wanted to bring back to Mississippi, was that exposure, like to let kids and people know that, hey, the world is big, like, and you don't have to stay in your hometown. You can come back and you can make a difference that way. And now with the internet, with the ability to connect all over the globe, I think it's easier for people to find people who, are vibing on their level, who have the same beliefs and values that they do. And you just share that energy. So
What's a conversation that you'd like to have more in general, like with whoever it may be, but you really struggle to find people to have that conversation?
So strengths are they're everywhere, but when you're talking about what people are naturally good at and how do they apply their strengths every day, that's a conversation that, the tribe is small, in a sense, but we're definitely growing stronger. And what I want to continue talking about is how your strengths can really play a big part in unlocking your understanding of what your purpose is, and really connecting the two together. That's something that I definitely want to talk about more and enjoy talking about, is taking our strengths to the next level and connecting it to your purpose. Too many people are in their jobs where you might be able to do what you're doing best every day, but are you feeling fulfilled? Like, are you in the right spot? Too many people are in toxic work environments and are just settling for, never mind. I can't say what I wanted to say. It reminds.
You
It
can.
reminds me of slavery. Like it reminds me of slavery. And it's just a different form of slavery is what I see now and what I've seen over the years with people being in places where they don't want to be, and managers and leaders not valuing their employees or not really seeing the best in them, and employees really settling for being underpaid and not reaching their full potential and just settling for less. And even people do that in relationships, they settle for being cheated on and all of this other stuff, that happens. And so I feel like if we talk more about our strengths, what we do best, if we stop comparing ourselves to other people, if we talk about purpose, like your purpose and my purpose, and how can we work together to help each other fulfill the purpose? I think that's how we make the world a better place. And I don't think we're not having the conversations about, like, people are talking about how to make the world a better place, but the solutions we're talking about aren't really going to make the world a better place, I don't think. But we got to talk more about, like, not being selfish and being, like, really taking care of the community and really operating in our strengths and our purpose, and being comfortable. If your purpose is the garbage man, hey, yo, we need you just as much as we need the mayor of the city. So everyone's important.
I want to thank you for saying what you just said, because it's a conversation too that I struggle. This exact conversation is one that I struggle to have with people all the time, because I look around and I'm very shocked by society. If I came from another planet, Jess and I come down from another planet and we get to this planet and we just look around, we'd be kind of weirded out. Because what you'd see is all these people living in these little domes next to each other, these houses. And then you'd see two people leave the house every day in, like, the nuclear family, right? The father and the mother, or it could be two parents, whatever. Mm-hmm. They leave the house and they get in a car. They each get in their own little metal box. And then they drive their metal box in this grid of Legos. And then they go to a building. And then they sit in a chair and they work 8 hours. Then they get back in that box. And then they drive home. And then they get to their house. And then they make food. They put their kids to bed. Rinse, wash, repeat. The kids eventually leave college. It seems insane to me. It has always seemed insane to me. And me personally, I've never felt like I fit in the corporate culture.
Yeah.
And it's not from a place of, I'm not even sure why. Some of it, I think, goes back to me being in high school. And I went to a private, very privileged, all Catholic school in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And this is the reason why I dress the way I dress. So everyone listening to this who knows me, this is why I dress the way I dress. This is why when I was at Rose, everyone was mad preppy. I was wearing jeans and a white t-shirt and my Chuck Taylors. I still rock Chucks to this day. I wore those to prom and I stay rocking them because I'm not dressing up for anybody and I'm just being me. And I don't know, maybe that's corporate. I just feel like the corporate ladder, it's like this rat race, but for what? Right.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of that is the whole system is created for you to not engage in your purpose. It's so easy for you to not think about your purpose when you're worried about paying off your debt, your student debt, your mortgage, your car payment, because then you can only think about tomorrow. And I have to go to work so I can get that money so I can pay. And so I do believe that obviously that is not slavery, but in some sense it is a control of a society in a different way. Through debt and through creating situations that don't allow people to really engage and sit down and say, holy shit, what's my purpose?
Right.
And this is why I personally believe COVID has been so hard for people. Yes, people have died from COVID. People will still die that we know from COVID. That's not over. But when it first happened, I think the serious freak out was, oh man, I have to sit with my thoughts.
Right.
Holy shit. Do I really want to do this job? Because now I could sit at home and now I realize I don't really like talking to that person. My boss actually treats me like shit. I used to put up with the job because I got all these benefits and it was near my gym I'd go to after. So anyways, do
I really need 8 hours a day to work? Like, am I really just sitting here waiting on emails? Like, okay, like.
And I think that's the other thing that we're realizing, right? Which is if you used to have to work 40 hours, you could probably get that work done in 15 to 20. But you should still be paid for the 40 hours because I'm a firm believer in people should be paid for their value, not their time.
Amen to that.
And if Frank's listening to this, my buddy Frank, he's like, I get paid 10 hours, even if it takes me 1 hour, because I've worked for 20 years to be able to do it in 1 hour.
Exactly. Like that. Yeah. There's a benefit to perfecting your craft, and you should definitely get paid for the value. I'm all for that. I've left plenty of jobs because I wasn't getting paid my value. But I think that's also, if you know your strengths, if you know your worth, then you feel more confident going to the table, demanding your worth. And that's the beauty of strengths. It's a diversity piece too. It gives you a clean slate where everyone is equal. Everyone has talent. Everyone is good at something. So what makes you unique are your strengths, not your gender, not your race, not your ethnicity, not your beliefs or anything like that. And so it gives me a language that I can use that doesn't, identify me by anything other than what I'm good at.
And it really focuses on what you're good at rather than saying, the but, right? Because whenever someone says but in a conversation,
Yeah.
I think somebody once said everything after the but just doesn't matter. Because it
Yeah.
will be like, you know what I'm talking about? If you're talking about gossip,
Right.
it'll be like,
Right.
oh, I
I started
really
using
like the way
however.
he does that. But, and
Right.
like, here comes here comes me cutting down that person. So that really just focuses on the front of the conversation, which is like, hey, your strengths are this, this, and this. Lean
Mm-hmm.
into those and go hard. But where do you get pushback on that? Because that's really difficult for anyone to do. And I'm sure even yourself to do, to constantly lean into your strengths, knowing that that will yield something.
Yeah. So you asked, where do I get pushback from that?
Yeah. Like if you're trying to,
Yeah.
you're trying to work with a client and you're trying to coach them and you're saying, hey, you are so good at public speaking. And they're like, honestly, I'm so nervous. I'm so bad, but actually they're a great communicator. They
Mm-hmm.
just may lack self-confidence, but that doesn't mean that they're not a good communicator or a good public speaker. They just need a little bit more in the tank. So how do you overcome those things when people push back at what their strengths may be?
In coaching, like, you ask a lot of questions. And I like to describe like the difference between coaching and consulting. Coaching, you're asking questions and you're helping the client answer, their own problems in a sense. And we're here guiding them. In consulting, I'm giving you the solutions and I'm kind of telling you how to get it done. Either way, some people are good at both. And that's a strength of mine. I'm good at both. But in the coaching piece, when I'm coaching individuals, I really start asking questions. Like, you help the client reflect back on a time when they did that well, and they help them remember, how did you feel? How did you do that well? What were you thinking? And just help them reflect back on where they were in that process, and helping them identify their own strengths. Because again, it's something that you do well that other people see more so than you see. You can encourage them to ask other people, what are my strengths, or where do you see me communicating well, or public using my talents in public speaking.
How is both coaching and consulting impacted by the virtual dynamic that we have? Obviously, I assume it would be better if you were sitting there right with the person,
Mm-hmm.
because 70% of language is body language and, they can pick up on things. There's a lot of
Yeah.
nonverbal. But what's been the biggest obstacle of making sure that you can show up and be a great coach and consultant, even if it is via Zoom?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge, I think, is staying present and in the moment, and making sure you remove all distractions. And sometimes that can be very difficult. And so I think you really have to be intentional when you are on your coaching calls and consulting calls, and be real, like how we're chatting now. My dog is behind me, but he's in a cage, so he's contained. If he was out, he would have been in all types of like toys and messes. And so that would have been a big distraction. So I think you have to be very intentional. A lot of coaches have seen an increase. Some people say they've seen a decrease in their coaching, but I think it's based on how you market. And in this era, like, we really have to utilize technology and really different ways to connect with people. And so really take advantage of the tools that we do have to connect and build genuine relationships.
And so with that said, if someone's listening to this and they want to get in touch with you because they're interested about having the conversation about their purpose journey, where are the best places that they can reach out and find you? Is it the website, your Facebook? Are you on Instagram? Shout out all the places where you're available.
All right. So I am available on Facebook. You can find me at Jessica Cowan, that's COWAN, _ The Purpose Journey Coach. That's our business page. That can connect you to the Facebook group and my personal page as well. The website, if you're interested in any kind of coaching, consulting, team facilitation, or even customized workshops and things like that, you can find me at thepurposejourneycoach.com. And so those are the connections. Instagram will be rolling out soon, but we're focusing mainly on Facebook, LinkedIn, and my website. LinkedIn is The Purpose Journey Coach as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks again for listening to this episode, and be sure to check out Jess's website at thepurposejourneycoach.com. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Wifi Water Podcast. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.